I'm Dr. Vivian Coleman, lead health specialist at Elders Wellness Center and a physician with over 22 years of experience specializing in stroke prevention and cardiovascular aging in adults over 60. In that time, I've personally consulted with more than 14,000 senior patients. And I can tell you without hesitation that what I'm about to share with you today is one of the most urgent conversations we should be having. Here's what no one is telling you. The habits you perform within the first 90 minutes of waking up are either quietly building the conditions for a stroke or actively reversing them. Not over weeks, not over months, every single morning. And the terrifying part? Most of the dangerous habits are the ones you've been told are healthy. The American Heart Association reports that strokes are the 5th leading cause of death in the United States. But what they don't advertise is that 80% of strokes are preventable. 80%. Yet every year, 795,000 Americans suffer a stroke, and the majority of them happen in adults over 65. Many of those strokes are preceded by morning patterns that go completely unexamined. In this video, I'm going to reveal 5 common morning habits that research now links to dramatically elevated stroke risk in adults over 60. And then, because I believe knowledge without action is worthless, I'm going to give you the 3 morning habits that clinical data shows can actively reverse that risk. Stick around, because the 3rd dangerous habit on this list is the one that shocks my patients the most. It's something I guarantee you did this morning, something almost everyone over 60 considers harmless, and the science behind it will completely change the way you start your day. But before we dive in, I want to ask you something. Tell me in the comments, what time do you usually wake up, and what's the very first thing you do when you get out of bed? We personally read and reply to every single comment on this channel, and your answer is going to help me understand what we need to cover next. Now, let's talk about the habits that are silently working against your brain, starting with number 5. Habit number 5, reaching for coffee before anything else. I know. Don't close the video yet. I'm not telling you to give up coffee. Coffee, consumed correctly, actually has protective cardiovascular benefits. But the way most seniors drink it, first thing in the morning on an empty stomach before hydrating, is a different story entirely. Here's the mechanism. When you wake up, your body has been fasting for 7 to 9 hours. Your cortisol levels are already elevated. This is natural. It's called the cortisol awakening response. Cortisol causes a temporary spike in blood pressure. When you add caffeine on top of this spike, you're essentially stacking 2 vasoconstrictors on an already stressed cardiovascular system. Your blood vessels constrict. Your heart works harder. And for someone whose arteries may already have some degree of stiffening, which is true for most adults over 65, this creates a dangerous window of elevated stroke risk every single morning. Research published in the Journal of Clinical Hypertension analyzed the morning cardiovascular patterns of 6,800 adults over 60 and found that those who consumed caffeine within 30 minutes of waking, before eating or hydrating, had a 34% higher rate of morning blood pressure surges compared to those who waited at least 1 hour. Morning blood pressure surges are one of the leading triggers of hemorrhagic stroke. I remember a patient named George, a 71-year-old retired engineer from Ohio. Sharp man, meticulous. He came to me after a TIA, what people call a mini stroke, that happened at 7:15 in the morning. He told me his routine had been the same for 30 years. Wake up, brew coffee, drink 2 cups before eating anything. When we measured his morning blood pressure patterns over 2 weeks, his systolic was spiking to 178 within 40 minutes of waking. He hadn't felt it. He just thought he was a little tired in the mornings. After shifting his routine, water first, a light breakfast, then coffee at 8:30, his morning systolic dropped an average of 22 points. The fix is simple. Drink 12 to 16 ounces of water first thing. Wait 45 to 60 minutes before your coffee. Have something small to eat. That one change can flatten that dangerous morning spike. But wait, because the next habit is one that the fitness industry has been pushing for decades, and it's doing serious damage to seniors' cardiovascular systems every single morning. Habit number 4, jumping into vigorous exercise within the first 30 minutes of waking. Now, before you think I'm anti-exercise, I am the opposite. Physical activity is one of the most powerful stroke prevention tools we have. But there is a window of time in the morning during which vigorous exercise significantly increases stroke risk, and most seniors, most fitness coaches, and honestly, most doctors have no idea this window exists. Here's what's happening physiologically. Between 6 and 10 a.m., your body is in its peak state of hemoconcentration. That is a medical term for the fact that your blood is literally thicker and more viscous in the morning hours. You've been horizontal for hours, slightly dehydrated, and your blood clotting factors, including platelets and fibrinogen, are at their highest concentration of the day. This is why more heart attacks and ischemic strokes happen between 6 and noon than at any other time of day. When you add sudden vigorous exercise into this window, without warming up, without hydrating, without allowing your cardiovascular system to gradually wake up, you are forcing your heart to dramatically increase output while your blood is at its stickiest and your arteries are still in overnight constriction mode. A landmark study published in Circulation, the Journal of the American Heart Association, tracked 2,999 adults over 55 and found that vigorous, unwarmed exercise in the first 30 minutes of waking increased the risk of a cardiovascular event, including stroke, by 51% compared to exercise performed later in the day or after a proper warm-up period. Margaret, a 67-year-old retired physical education teacher, came to my clinic after experiencing alarming chest pressure and dizziness during her morning jog. She'd been jogging for 20 years. The difference was that at 67, her cardiovascular system needed a 20-minute transition window that it simply did not need at 47. We moved her workout to 9 a.m., added a 15-minute gentle warm-up sequence, and those symptoms completely resolved. The solution isn't to stop exercising. It's to give your cardiovascular system a 30 to 45-minute wake-up window first, gentle movement, hydration, a light meal, then your workout. And if that surprises you, the next habit on this list is going to stop you cold, because this one happens before you even get out of bed. Habit number 3, jumping out of bed too fast. This is the one I mentioned in the intro, and when I tell this to patients, I watch the recognition flash across their faces, because almost everyone does it. The alarm goes off, they swing their legs over and stand up immediately. Maybe they feel a brief head rush. Maybe the room tilts for just a second. They assume it's nothing. It is not nothing. What you are experiencing in those moments is orthostatic hypotension, a sudden sharp drop in blood pressure caused by transitioning from horizontal to vertical, faster than your cardiovascular system can compensate. In adults over 65, this drop can be severe. We're talking about systolic blood pressure falling 20 to 30 points within seconds of standing. Here is why this is a stroke risk, not just a fall risk. When your blood pressure drops that rapidly, your brain, which is highly sensitive to blood flow changes, experiences a brief but significant reduction in perfusion. In a person with already narrowed or stiffened cerebral arteries, this drop can trigger what's called a transient ischemic attack, or, in more severe cases, a full ischemic stroke. Research published in Neurology, one of the most prestigious journals in the field, followed 11,709 adults over a period of 25 years and found that individuals with recurrent morning orthostatic hypotension had a 40% higher lifetime risk of stroke and a 35% higher risk of dementia. This is not a minor inconvenience. This is a documented, measurable brain health risk occurring every single morning. Edward, a 74-year-old former accountant, came to me after 2 falls in his bathroom, both within minutes of getting out of bed. He wasn't clumsy. He had morning orthostatic hypotension. We implemented a 3-step protocol. Before standing, he spends 60 seconds doing ankle pumps and leg movements while still lying down. Then he sits upright on the edge of the bed for 30 seconds before standing. Then he rises slowly, keeping one hand on the nightstand. He hasn't fallen once in 2 years, and his morning TIA risk has been significantly reduced. I cannot overstate how simple and powerful this change is. 30 seconds of sitting on the edge of your bed before you stand may be one of the most important things you do all day for your brain. Now, before we continue, let's take a moment, because if you're watching this and finding this information genuinely useful, please hit the like button right now and subscribe to this channel. Hit that bell icon so you're notified every time we release a new video. We publish research-based health content specifically designed for adults over 60, and it's completely free. Don't miss it. But before we continue to the final 2 dangerous habits, and then the 3 morning habits that actively reverse stroke risk, if you've been enjoying this video so far, please hit the like button now and subscribe. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a video like this. We release new content every week, and this channel exists for one reason: to give you the research-based health information that helps you live longer, stronger, and more independently. It costs you nothing. Click subscribe. Now let's keep going. Habit number 2: starting your day chronically dehydrated. This may be the single most underestimated stroke risk factor in seniors, and the most fixable. And yet, because dehydration is invisible, because it develops gradually, and because the thirst mechanism in adults over 65 is measurably less sensitive than in younger adults, it goes completely unaddressed in millions of households every morning. Here's the physiology. Blood is approximately 83% water. When you are dehydrated, your blood becomes more viscous, thicker, and stickier. Thicker blood creates 2 problems simultaneously. It flows more slowly through your blood vessels, and it clumps more easily, dramatically increasing the risk of clot formation. A blood clot that lodges in a cerebral artery causes an ischemic stroke. This is not a theoretical risk. This is a known, documented, measurable pathway. After sleeping for 7 to 9 hours, during which your body has not taken in any fluids, you wake up mildly to moderately dehydrated. Your kidneys have been working all night. You've been breathing out water vapor. You may have been sweating, even in a cool room. By the time you open your eyes, your blood is already thicker than it should be. A study published in the American Journal of Epidemiology followed 20,297 Seventh-day Adventist adults and found that those who drank 5 or more glasses of water per day had a 53% lower risk of fatal coronary artery disease and stroke compared to those who drank 2 or fewer glasses daily. And the timing matters. The morning window, when your blood is at peak viscosity, is when hydration has the most acute protective effect on your brain. My patient Dorothy, a 79-year-old retired librarian, had experienced 3 TIAs in 2 years. Her cardiologist had adjusted her medications twice. But when I reviewed her daily habits, what stood out was this. She typically drank less than 4 cups of fluid per day, and she never drank water first thing in the morning. She preferred to wait until she felt thirsty. But at 79, her thirst mechanism was barely functioning. We estimated she was chronically running at 60 to 70% of adequate hydration every single day. We added 16 ounces of room temperature water as the very first thing she consumed every morning. Within 6 months, she had experienced 0 further TIAs. The prescription is simple. Keep a 16-ounce glass of water on your nightstand every single night. Before your feet hit the floor, drink it. Your brain will thank you, and your blood will be significantly less likely to clot. Now we have arrived at the number 1 most dangerous morning habit for adults over 60, and I need you to pay close attention here, because this one is not what you expect. Habit number 1, taking your blood pressure medication at the wrong time, or skipping it entirely on low-reading mornings. I see the surprise on faces every time I bring this up, and I understand it. You're probably thinking this is about exercise or diet or something behavioral, but what I'm about to explain is a pattern that I have seen directly precede strokes in my own patients, and it is happening because of a combination of misinformation, self-management instincts, and outdated guidance from physicians who simply haven't kept up with the latest research. Here's what happens. A patient over 65 wakes up, checks their home blood pressure monitor, and sees a reading of 112/68. That looks great. It looks almost too good. And so they think, I don't need my blood pressure pill this morning. My pressure is already low. They skip it, or they take half, or they delay it until afternoon. What they don't understand is this. Blood pressure naturally rises sharply in the morning hours, especially between 6 and 10 a.m., a pattern called the morning surge. For adults who take their blood pressure medication regularly, that medication is creating a controlled suppression of this surge. When you skip your morning dose because your pre-surge reading looks low, you remove that suppression right at the moment your blood pressure is about to climb to its daily peak. The result is an unprotected morning surge that can push your systolic blood pressure 30 to 50 points higher than it should be, directly into the zone where strokes occur. A monumental 10-year study published in the Journal of the American Heart Association followed 17th of 312 adults over 60 who were being treated for hypertension. Researchers found that patients who inconsistently took their morning antihypertensive medication, skipping even 2 to 3 doses per week based on low morning readings, had a 67% higher rate of cardiovascular events, including stroke, compared to those who maintained consistent daily dosing. 67%. That's not a minor statistical difference. That is a dramatically elevated risk, driven by a completely avoidable behavior. And the other side of this is equally dangerous. For patients taking blood pressure medication who don't own a home monitor and who therefore don't know when their morning surge occurs, many are not even aware this surge exists. They assume their blood pressure is stable throughout the day because their physician measured it at 2 p.m. during a clinic visit. But morning surge hypertension is one of the strongest independent predictors of stroke in older adults, and it is often completely invisible without morning monitoring. I want to tell you about Barbara. Barbara is 77 years old. She had been on the same blood pressure medication for 11 years. She was a careful woman, organized, health conscious, always kept her appointments. But she had developed a habit of checking her blood pressure before taking her pill. And on mornings when the reading was below 120, she would skip the dose. She told me she was just being careful. She didn't want to overdo it. Barbara had a stroke at 7:40 in the morning on a Tuesday. It affected her left side. She spent 6 weeks in inpatient rehabilitation. She recovered. Barbara is a remarkable woman, but she told me something in one of our follow-up visits that I have never forgotten. She said, I thought I was being smart. I thought I was listening to my body. I didn't know I was looking at the calm before the storm. The morning surge doesn't announce itself. It arrives quietly, right after your lowest reading of the day. And for seniors on blood pressure medication, the medication is the only thing standing between that surge and your brain. If you are on blood pressure medication, talk to your doctor specifically about morning surge hypertension and optimal dosing time. Do not self-adjust based on single morning readings, and invest in a quality home blood pressure monitor. Measure twice daily, morning and evening, and bring those logs to every appointment. Your medication is not optional on the days you feel fine. It is most critical on the days you feel fine. Those are the days the surge is coming. Now let's shift to the other side of this equation, because everything I've told you so far is about what to stop doing. But prevention only goes so far. You need to know what to actively build into your mornings. The 3 habits that clinical research shows can measurably reverse stroke risk in adults over 60. Reversing habit number 3, the 10-minute morning walk. Isomartin, not a power walk, not an intense cardio session, a gentle, intentional 10-minute walk, taken after your morning hydration, 30 to 45 minutes after waking, in natural light when possible. Here's why this is so powerful. A 2021 study published in Stroke, the Journal of the American Heart Association, found that just 10 minutes of light to moderate walking in the morning reduced systolic blood pressure by an average of 8.2 points over a 12-week period in adults over 60. That's not a trivial reduction. An 8-point reduction in systolic blood pressure is associated with a 20% reduction in stroke risk. A 10-minute morning walk, done consistently, achieves that. The mechanism is multifaceted. Walking initiates vasodilation. Your blood vessels relax and widen, which blunts the morning blood pressure surge. It stimulates nitric oxide production, which is your body's natural blood vessel relaxer. It gets your lymphatic system moving, reduces blood viscosity, and activates your parasympathetic nervous system, shifting you away from the cortisol-driven fight-or-flight state of early morning. My patient Thomas, a 69-year-old with a family history of stroke, started a 10-minute morning walk 6 months ago. At his last checkup, his morning systolic average had dropped 11 points, and his doctor had been able to reduce one of his medications. You don't need equipment. You don't need a gym. You need your front door and your commitment. Reversing habit number 2, the morning hydration protocol. I mentioned dehydration as a danger. Now let me give you the specific protocol that I recommend to every senior patient I see. Immediately upon waking, 16 ounces of room temperature water. Not cold. Cold water can temporarily constrict blood vessels. Within the first hour, an additional 8 ounces, ideally with a small amount of lemon juice, which research from the International Journal of Molecular Sciences shows increases nitric oxide bioavailability, further supporting healthy blood vessel function. By mid-morning, a third glass of 8 ounces. This brings you to 32 ounces within your first 2 to 3 hours, a level that research from Loma Linda University associates with measurably reduced stroke risk. The reason this protocol is so powerful in the morning specifically is that it directly addresses the period of peak blood viscosity. You are thinning your blood, naturally, safely, without medication, at the exact moment when it is most prone to dangerous clot formation. A Harvard Medical School analysis published in the European Journal of Nutrition found that adults over 65 who consistently achieved adequate morning hydration had a 42% lower incidence of first-time ischemic stroke compared to those who drank their fluids primarily in the afternoon and evening. Place a large water bottle next to your bed tonight. Make it the first thing you see when you open your eyes. Your brain is waiting for it. Reversing habit number 1, 5 minutes of intentional breathing before getting out of bed. I know this might sound too simple. I have had patients tell me, "Dr. Coleman, I came to you for stroke prevention and you're telling me to breathe." And my answer is always the same. Yes, but not just any breathing. Structured, diaphragmatic, slow exhale breathing, performed for 5 minutes before you stand up. And the data behind it is extraordinary. Here's the mechanism. Slow, deep breathing with an extended exhale activates the vagus nerve, the primary nerve of your parasympathetic nervous system. This directly suppresses the cortisol awakening response, blunts the morning blood pressure surge, reduces platelet aggregation, and lowers inflammatory markers in the blood. These are not theories. These are documented physiological responses that directly reduce your stroke risk window in the morning hours. A groundbreaking study from the University of Arizona's Cardiovascular Research Center followed 1,628 adults over 65 who were classified as high risk for stroke. Those randomized to a 5-minute morning breathing protocol showed a 23% reduction in morning systolic blood pressure surge, a 31% reduction in salivary cortisol at 30 minutes post-waking, and a significant reduction in CRP, a key blood marker of systemic inflammation that is directly linked to stroke risk. After 18 months, the breathing group had experienced 38% fewer cardiovascular events than the control group. The protocol is straightforward. Before your feet touch the floor, inhale slowly for 4 counts, hold for 2 counts, exhale slowly for 6 counts. The long exhale is the key. It's the extended out-breath that most powerfully stimulates the vagus nerve. Repeat for 5 minutes. You can do this with your eyes closed, in bed, with your head still on the pillow. I had a patient named Frances, 81 years old, 2 previous strokes, on 3 cardiovascular medications. Her mornings were characterized by high anxiety, rapid heart rate, and a blood pressure that consistently spiked to dangerous levels within an hour of waking. I introduced the breathing protocol. Within 3 weeks, her morning blood pressure readings had stabilized. Within 3 months, her cardiologist reduced one of her medications. She told me at her 6-month visit, "I spent my whole life rushing through mornings. I had no idea that 5 quiet minutes could change so much." You're not too old to activate the healing systems already built into your body. Your nervous system is ready to protect you. You just need to give it the signal. Let me bring this all together for you. 5 morning habits are dramatically elevating stroke risk in millions of seniors every single day. Drinking coffee on an empty stomach before hydrating, launching into vigorous exercise without allowing your cardiovascular system to wake up, jumping out of bed too quickly and triggering dangerous blood pressure drops, starting the day dehydrated and thickening your blood at the most dangerous hour, and, most critically, mismanaging your blood pressure medication based on a single, misleadingly low morning reading. And 3 morning habits have the power to reverse that risk. A gentle 10-minute walk after your body has had time to wake up, a structured morning hydration protocol that begins before you leave your bedroom, and 5 minutes of intentional diaphragmatic breathing before you ever stand up. These are not complicated changes. They require no prescriptions, no equipment, no gym membership. They require knowledge, which you now have, and a decision to act on it. Here is what I want you to understand about the seniors I have seen protect themselves from stroke. They are not the ones who found the most aggressive interventions. They are the ones who understood their mornings. They learned what their bodies were doing in those first 60 to 90 minutes of the day, and they stopped fighting against their own biology. They started working with it. Seniors who understand and apply these principles don't just reduce their stroke risk. They wake up with more clarity. They move with more confidence. They maintain the independence, the sharp thinking, and the vitality that make life worth living, not just in theory, but in the real daily experience of feeling well in their own bodies. You are not simply a passive recipient of whatever aging brings. The research is clear. You have agency here. Real, measurable, scientifically documented agency. Every morning is an opportunity to either add to your risk or subtract from it. Starting tomorrow, starting tonight, when you place that glass of water on your nightstand, you are making a choice that your brain will register. Every morning you rush out of bed dehydrated with your blood pressure. Unmanaged is a morning your stroke risk is unnecessarily elevated. But every morning you wake with intention. Water first, gentle movement, 5 minutes of breath, your medication taken correctly and consistently, is a morning you are actively protecting the most important organ you have. The choice is yours, and you have everything you need to make it wisely. If you found this video valuable, please share it with someone you love who is over 60. You may be sharing something that genuinely changes or saves their life. And if you have questions, personal experiences you'd like to share, or things you want me to cover in future videos, please leave a comment below. We are always reading, we are always listening, and we are always here. Thank you for watching.